I have a very logical view of things. I believe in evolution and the natural order. After my experience with the unknown species hiding right under our noses, I still think that way, but I'm a little more open to the existence of things we could be overlooking. Higher ranks on the food chain that we are blissfully unaware of. There is still much of our world left unexplored, and even if we did trample through our entire globe searching, I believe there would still be creatures that exist completely undisturbed and undiscovered by us. At its core, evolution is pretty straightforward. The most desirable traits are based on how well they help you thrive. They are passed on, because what makes you strong and unique increases your chance of survival and the survival of your offspring. If you try to think of giants existing in the world, you can't conceive it, because if they are so bumbling, heavy, and slow, it would make it too easy for us. With our advantage in speed and firepower, we'd probably control them or kill them off if we thought they would endanger our own chances of survival. If they did exist, they'd have to hold the opposite traits. Lithe, fast, and lightweight so we couldn't hear them coming, camouflage so we couldn't notice them passing by, hidden so well they could never be found. It sounds like an impossible task, but with enough time and careful selection, anything is possible. I believe that wholeheartedly now. I have reevaluated what I associate with giants and how I perceive the world. I've never really been superstitious, and up to this point I never really believed in ghosts, fairies, demons, vampires, or anything like that. But I can see them now. I know where the true giants are, and with that knowledge I know that there must be other things smart enough to avoid us. Intelligent enough to realize that making their presence known would only speak their doom. They use what they have to simply avoid conflict, live in peace, hunt in the deepest and darkest parts of the world, or live amongst us undetected. Those are the ones we fantasize about, tell stories of in the eerie glow of fire, flickering off of fearful, wide eyes. I grew up in an area where the night skies were bright with thousands of stars and the grounds wore the heaviest of shadows. In child eyes, I've seen a giant panther the size of a mansion weave blindly through the trees, so careful not a single strand of hair touched a branch, so unfathomably light-footed that not one leaf shifted under its body. It kept its eyes shut that night, but on another occasion it faced my house, and I saw it through my bedroom window. I thought it was the moon, but I knew the moon had risen and passed over the house hours ago. The panther had only one eye open. It was strange, bleached and speckled with dark spots like the surface of the giant rock that sat in our sky. White flecks glowed across its face like stars. I have realized with age that sometimes we think so small. We see a stick bug and think something so huge couldn't possibly mimic our environment without our notice like the small ones can, but in the right circumstances, why couldn't they? It was many years before I saw another. I lived in a rather peaceful town now, a place I knew I would have a difficult time finding a giant, so I went places I thought no one else would. I believed many of them hid in the cloak of darkness, so I took many walks at night, staring at the moon and wondering what else could possibly be out there. Unfortunately, my second encounter was not so peaceful. Rarely did people show up to some of the deserted places I visited, but if they did, they often had different intentions than I did. I stood in the middle of the pathway near the lake, mostly uninjured, my wallet emptied, and a group wandering away from me with grins plastered on their faces, and an extra couple $100 to split among them. I rested against a tree trying to regain my bearings when I heard the barest of cracks echoing along the shoreline of the pond. I looked towards the mob that had taken my wallet. One of them had strayed behind the others. He was walking towards a strange formation of rocks, counting bills. I swore the focal point, a massive rock, had been settled on the ground before, when I passed it not long ago. It now sat up at an impossible angle. It was the size of a small speedboat, in the vague shape of a jaw, the tip curving down almost like the wide-open beak of a snapping turtle. The others had walked past it, but in his distraction, he walked under it. There was barely any sound, but I witnessed the formation shift in the blink of an eye. The thump was so dull and quiet I still feel as if I imagined it. The men continued walking, entirely unaware one of their members was now missing. I didn't want them to realize his disappearance before I left the area. I contracted a new fear that night as I ran as quietly as possible out of the park and back home, my eyes wide and flickering across my surroundings the entire journey. I did not walk at night after that. The desire to seek the giants out dwindled along with that hobby. I knew then that I'd been lucky to survive 2 encounters thus far, so I wasn't looking for the third, especially not in broad daylight, when I discovered it. I was reading a book under a massive, old tree that stood tall and towering in the middle of campus. It was a feature of the university, located smack in the middle of the new city I called home. It's odd when you suddenly become conscious of your breathing. It happens to all sorts of people. The sudden realization and awareness of something your body does automatically. It's awkward to transition back to ignoring it. I never thought that the awareness might have been a response to your own body being thrown off course, your mind losing its tempo in the presence of another beat. I took my eyes off my book and glanced down at my chest, rising and falling. I subtly held my breath to try and reset the mindless action. My chest continued to move, and a part of my brain connected dots I hadn't paid any mind to in years. I closed my eyes, leaned back against the tree, and ceased breathing again. I felt it, the subtle movement that was not my own. The large oak was breathing in tandem with me. Or it was trying to. In the light of day I was not as afraid, but I also did not push my luck. I resumed my regular breathing, as well as my book. The branches and leaves rustled in the breeze, and I thought of the silence of the panther and the stillness of the turtle, and I knew now that some did not need to be so still. A tree too still would stand out among the others that followed the patterns of the wind. I've tried to see the world through larger eyes, but I still was only able to see a few more giants throughout my lifetime. One time I stared at a boulder intensely for a few minutes. Then, it just ate me. In a blink of an eye, I was in its mouth. Whatever it wasn't swallowing me, just keeping me in its mouth. Then the air just felt like it disappeared, like I was suddenly in space or in water. I fainted and woke up outside. The boulder was gone. I've never thought to mention the giants to others until now. I am getting older, and I want to let people see more of the wonders our world holds. The only difference it will make to you is you may be able to open your eyes a little wider and witness something others only dream of. Be warned, you must not seek them out. They live their lives, and we live ours. If you meet your death at the hands of one of them, it would simply be the natural order of things, the circle of life and death. I would say that we outnumber them, but I do not know if we do. They do not mean us harm, so you must leave them be. Unless you're really looking, you will never see them anyway. But let it be known that we are not at the top of the food chain. Not by a long shot.
Thanks for watching. Keep enjoying our videos. Like and subscribe.